I had a purpose before everybody had an opinion.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out.
You want Philly Philly?
Chase Utley, you are the man.
You come out backyard and you try to start something, you always get your butt kicked.
The prayers have been answered.
How about those Eagles, baby?
And Rio Muto can run for days.
Can you feel what's about to happen on this field, man?
A perfect game. Roy Halladay has thrown the second perfect game in Philadelphia Phillies history.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Philly Talk. Back after some time. Reason I didn't record one last week was because, I just felt like I didn't know what to talk about, It kind of got to that point where, like, we kind of see it every season, like, since I started doing these Philly Talk stuff, where I'm just like, I don't know what to talk about, It's like, the team is doing pretty well in some aspects that, like, it just feels I might be reiterating things, and at the same time, it still feels like too soon to really say anything. But now there's a ton to talk about. First off, gotta start off with the man of the thumbnail, June Kyle Schwarber, huh? What a man. This man just always decides to go off in June. It's an anomaly, really, that, like, he just starts playing so well in June. He's been doing pretty well, ton of home runs as of late. And another one who's been doing pretty well, at least recently, is Nick Castellanos. Had the walk-off yesterday. I'm recording this as today's game is going on because it's an early game, so probably won't be able to watch it because I got to record this. But he's been hitting pretty well as of late. He had a real good game yesterday as well. You look at his stats from that game yesterday. He had 5 at-bats, 4 hits, 2 of which were doubles. Had the game-winning RBI, of course. Shout out Nick. He's been doing pretty well the past 2 games. He struggled in that Baltimore series, but past 2 games against, San Francisco, two doubles in each game. He's heating up a bit, at least you hope, still kind of struggling on the season, 219 batting average. But, hopefully he heats up just like Kyle Schwarber's been heating up. And then, sort of the big things that we got to touch on. First off, JT goes down. Really not what you wanted to see, but JT goes down. I forget when exactly it was, but he played that New York series in London because he knew, like, they kind of knew it wasn't too serious. And then after that, that's when he goes on the IL. He's down. A bit worrisome, always don't want to see a guy of JT's magnitude go down, especially at such a vital position, because it's like, not only are you missing his offense, but you got to remember that the catcher is part of that duo with the pitcher. He's the one calling pitches, and we know he's real good because, how many times have we seen so many of our pitchers say, like, they just put it all in JT's hands, to, like, call the right plays. They always bring up that he called a great game. And you see that difference when, they bring up the stats that with JT, Zach Wheeler has like a 2-point-something ERA, and with Garrett Stubbs, he has like a 5-point-something ERA. Like, I think it's like 5.5 almost. So when he goes down, you're real worried, and with that, just like previous times when people get injured, they have to call upon different guys, and the one that they've called upon is Rafael Marchand, who has been doing pretty well in his little short appearances, He doesn't even have 5 games under his belt. He only has 3, so I can't even see, like, what his stats were. How a Baseball Reference would show you, like, here's your stats the past 5 games. They can't even show that because he hasn't been he hasn't played enough games for us. He only played 3 games. But in those 3 games, he's had 4 hits. He's scored 3 of the runs, so he was on base and scored. He's gotten 4 hits. He's got a home run, 3 RBIs, batting so far. Oh, sorry, wait, I'm looking at the wrong year. Sorry, he has 4 games. He has 5 hits, a home run, and 3 RBIs, 3 runs still. 12 plate appearances in at bats. And he's batting .417 right now. So he's been doing pretty well. Don't know about, fielding wise. right now, Baseball Reference has him at a like basically 100 fielding percentage. I can't see any of sorry, not to give any dead air there, but I was trying to look to see if I could find certain stats, you know, like how well he's doing so far with like runners trying to steal on him, but he's been doing pretty well. And a ton of other guys have been, you know, doing pretty well, to the point where what I was talking about in a previous Philly Talk episode became true. And that is, of course, talking about the difficult decisions this team would have to make. And though it kind of is confusing, they've made them. So first off, Brandon Marsh is back. But the thing that confused me is when they called Brandon Marsh back up, we haven't seen, like, I didn't see anyone get sent down. So I guess like there was just an open space on the roster. I don't know for sure. We know Cody Clemens is still on the IL. Oh, I think Weston Wilson probably got sent down when Marsh came up. That was probably one, I think maybe. I forget if they called him up. But secondly, Trey Turner came back. And when Trey Turner came back, everyone assumed, we were like, okay, well, Sosa's not getting sent down. Whit Merrifield, you know, like basically like Pache's not getting sent down because he doesn't have the options. I don't think Dahl has any options either, so they would have had to pass him through. Like, you know, they would have to DFA him and pass him through and hope that no one claims him. Same thing, like I don't think Whit has any options. He's much older. And plus, you know, the money they're paying him, they wouldn't even send him down anyways. But so everyone was like, more than likely it's going to be Dahl that gets sent down. You know, he's done decent, but has kind of cooled off in the past couple of games. You know, like you look at the games that he's played in. I mean, he got one hit in the Baltimore series that he started, but every other game was like zeros. You know, he's kind of cooled down. But the day before, we started hearing rumors that it may be Johan Rojas who gets sent down, who, you know, has been doing all right, you know, 235 batting average on the season. Didn't do like too much, and Johan Rojas ends up getting sent down. And I mean, it's something we talked about at the start of the season, you know, like before we even went in, we were like, could Johan Rojas start in AAA? And I mean, the biggest reason people had against it was his defense, you know, but we've kind of seen him this year kind of misplay a couple of balls. So his defense wasn't like what it was last year. And again, last year was a smaller sample size. This time, you know, we're seeing more out of him, but I'll definitely say it was confusing. You know, like, it is a bit of an odd move. But to me, that solidifies all the rumors we've been hearing about the Phillies wanting to acquire a starting outfielder and potentially a fourth outfielder. Because to me, that says they want to go out and get someone, you know, someone big that can start in one of those outfield positions, and then, you know, get another platoon bat to potentially, you know, platoon with Marsh maybe. Or it tells me that they want to get another name to platoon with so that they could have 4 different guys to platoon in the outfield between Marsh, Pache, whoever they acquire, and perhaps Rojas if he gets called back up later in the season. Because I don't know. I don't know if Dahl stays for too long. I mean, it all depends on how he plays. You know, that's what I've been saying about a lot of these guys. It depends on how they play and if you really want to send them down. But yeah, so we've been hearing a lot about that. And Johan Rojas getting sent down makes me think about that. You know, it's like, what are they possibly thinking here? You know, like, what are they looking to do? Maybe they're sending Johan Rojas down because they know they have, you know, they have him under control for quite some time. So they know they can afford to go out. And even if it's just a rental or, you know, for example, I'm just throwing this name out there because it's the main one being talked about. Luis Robert, you know, he's under control for a team for, you know, this season, the next season, and I think the season after. Johan Rojas is still young enough that you could bring in Luis Robert for those 3 years, or I guess like 2.5 years. And if he decides to leave, you can still have Johan Rojas there to bring up, he'll be 26 probably when you bring him up, the same age I think Robert is right now. I think Luis Robert is 26. But that's kind of my thinking, when it comes to something like that. Is like they know they have him under control, so maybe that's why they're so willing to send him back down. Yeah, Luis Robert is 26. Yeah, so it's like they're maybe that might be a reason, is that they know if they go out and get a guy like Robert or maybe other outfielders that are on the block, they know that they can still have Rojas under control, or maybe they want Rojas in a trade package. We've been hearing many different things about what the Phillies could do. It's going to be interesting. As far as a Robert trade, I don't know too much, other than the fact that he's kind of had his injury struggles. But you would welcome a better bat in the outfield, because like Rojas again was only hitting 235. He was decent on the season, but it wasn't like you were expecting too much out of him, because he was usually your ninth guy. It's like you're not really expecting too much out of him, like crazily. You're not expecting to put up Alec Bohm, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper type stats. But yeah, that's the main thing, is like wondering what trades they're gonna make. You hear about Michael Kopech, you hear about them wanting to get pitching help, whether it be in the bullpen or maybe even starting. I don't know how they get off Taijuan Walker's contract, if they're able to. I doubt it. A lot of interesting things, about like what trades are they gonna make. I'm just curious to see. I want bullpen help more than anything, and with Johan Rojas getting sent down, obviously you want outfield help, because I just don't know how much you're going to be able to platoon Marsh, Pache, and Dahl for so long, I don't know how you're going to get certain people off the books. I mean, if they want to get Merrifield off, I think literally the only way is if you just straight up DFA him, and then, I know this one's a bit short, but I'm under like strict time constraints right now, so I'm trying to get this out as quickly as possible. Moving forward, again, the tough decisions thing. This time, it's even tougher than the last time, because now you're trying to rely on Dahl and Pache and even Merrifield to play well in that outfield spot, especially platooning. What happens with Cody Clemens when he comes off the IL? And then the biggest question mark to me that my dad and I have been talking about ever since is the catcher spot. We've kind of seen, Wheeler really struggled against Baltimore. We saw that struggle. And again, you got to bring up the thing about Stubbs, and Wheeler's ERA with him. We saw a couple of the other pitchers kind of struggle, but, they've kind of got him back on track. We saw Nola do pretty well. We're going to see how Ranger does today. But we've seen him struggle without JT. But we haven't really seen them struggle too much in the games that Marchand is starting. What am I insinuating there? Marchand has been doing pretty well so far. We mentioned the batting, he's been doing pretty well. But you look at yesterday's game, Stubbs was in, sorry. Monday's game, that was when Wheeler pitched and Marchand was in the game. He got 2 RBIs on that day. Sanchez was pitching and he went 7, only letting up 1 earned run. The first Baltimore game that we won, Marchand was the catcher. Ranger went 6.2, only letting up 1 earned run. I'm not trying to insinuate anything, but it seems that, the pitchers haven't been having too much of an issue with him. There's still games where they still struggle, but go to the Boston game where Stubbs was catching and Nola only went 3.2 and let up 8 earned runs. I'm not trying to insinuate anything or trying to speak bad on any of our players, but there's a pattern that is starting to form. And as I talked to my dad, this is probably going to be the toughest decision this team is going to have to make out of every single one of them. If you thought the Rojas decision was pretty difficult, which I thought that was a pretty crazy decision to make, but like I told my dad, hey, I'll let it play out. I'll see what happens. I'll trust that they know something that we don't when it comes to sending Rojas down in favor of like a Dahl or any other person. But when it comes to the backup catcher position, when JT comes back, what is this team going to do? Are you going to prioritize the locker room guy, the vibe guy, and Garrett Stubbs? Or, are you going to prioritize the best baseball that you can put on the field, because if you remember correctly, John Middleton, the Phillies owner, was like, I want my trophy back. Do you get your trophy back? I mean, there's different ways, like, I'm not saying like it's an easy decision, but it's like, what do you do by the time JT comes back? Do you put the best baseball on the field, or do you go with the locker room guy? Because they've been saying it all year. JT's only getting older. He's not going to be able to do what he's done in the past, and that is give you 100-something games at the catcher spot. He's getting older. He's not going to be able to play catcher as much. You're going to have to utilize your backup catcher even more. And if Rafael Marchán is continuing to play as well as he does, again, he's only had 4 games, so I'm not trying to like overreact here, but like in his 4 games, he has the same amount of RBIs as Stubbs has in 24 games this season. Stubbs obviously has more hits because of but like more walks, but like I'm just saying, like, it's again that tough decision thing of like, if we continue going forward and seeing how things play out, and let's say by the time JT comes back and Marchán has been playing much better, fulfilling that role much better, especially with the pitchers, that is probably going to be the toughest decision this team has to make. Now, the decision I think is likely. Marchán gets sent down. They stick with Stubbs, because locker room guy, the vibes, they can't get rid of that. But it just makes me wonder, man. It just makes me wonder about the decisions they're going to have to make. Because there's just so much to think about with this team, especially because the thing that surprised me about Dahl was that Dahl's a lefty, so I didn't think they were going to keep him because of the fact that they already have so many lefties, and Stubbs is a lefty too. Marchán, he's a switch hitter, I believe, because you look on here, it says he bats both, so it's like that was the main thing. And that's the thing with Clemens too, it's like Clemens would bat left, so I was very surprised with Dahl staying over Rojas, because I was like, you would think they want more right-handed bats, considering Kyle Schwarber bats left, Bryce Harper bats left, Bryson Stott bats left, Brandon Marsh bats left. Like they kind of try and keep things even. Obviously, Sosa and Merrifield and Pache, I believe, are righties. So that's another thing to like take into account, is what are they gonna want to do? Like, they want a couple of lefty and righty bats. I mean, we've seen them this season start experimenting with a lot of that stuff, where it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if this time come around, let's say we make it to the playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised if Rob Thompson, despite wanting guys to stay like in a groove, I wouldn't be surprised if he is more willing to pinch it in a lot of different scenarios, or platoon certain guys in different scenarios. But that's just the one thing I thought about. That's the one thing I wanted to bring up, especially here towards the end, is just I seriously wonder what they're gonna do when JT comes back, because we were wondering what they were gonna do when Trey came back, and it was very interesting to see that decision be made, that it was going to be Johan Rojas getting sent down. And so it makes me wonder what's going to happen when JT comes back. I already know what's probably going to happen. It's probably a pointless discussion. Garrett Stubbs, again, the vibes guy, he's a locker room guy. you know, they're likely going to keep him. But it's just like, I don't know, man. If Marchand keeps it up now, he's not going to continue batting .417, obviously. But, like, if he continues to play as well as perhaps JT, let's say, you know, not necessarily JT's numbers, but, like, playing well enough to fill in that role, and the pitchers are doing well enough with him, it's going to be an interesting discussion come that time when JT comes back and you need to send someone down, you know. But that's all I have for today. A lot of interesting stuff for this Philly team. I mean, we've seen them kind of struggle. They've kind of been up and down, you know, like they lost a couple series, you know, they lost the Baltimore series, they lost the Boston series. What else? They split the London series with the Mets. They swept the Brewers. Reese's return. Oh, we talked about that already. Reese's return. But yeah, we've kind of been up and down these past couple of times, hoping to sweep the Padres today. Then again, we have to face Arizona. Then we go to Detroit, Miami, and Miami closes out the month. So I don't know yet if I'm gonna be here. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna do one next week. Might just do one at the end of June to recap, you know, the end of June and everything. And that's gonna be as we get closer to the deadline, especially. A lot of interesting moves to be made with this team. But like I've been saying, just want the best baseball on the field. Hope these guys can get hot. Hope a lot of different things can come into play. And interested to see just the moves that this team makes with everything, man. The outfield, the bench, the bullpen, starting pitching, maybe even. It's going to be real interesting. This is an interesting Phillies team. And I'm just interested to see how this year plays out for us.